Often, we wait for the opportune moment to begin, believing that momentum springs from a perfect confluence of sensations or an ideal emotional state that magically propels us forward. However, this waiting is futile. Life progresses, and those who tarry fall behind. The true engine of advancement, as Tracy pointed out, lies not in what you feel, but in what you do. It's not a matter of wanting to, but of making the decision, because action is not a result of motivation, but its precursor. It is only through unwavering daily action, without hesitation or compromise, that your mind is reconfigured, your focus sharpens, your character strengthens, and your life's trajectory is redefined. If you yearn for a different existence, do not persist in seeking clarity. Commit to acting every day, and you will observe how motivation emerges as a natural consequence of your purposeful progress. The impetus magnifies and your vision becomes undeniable. Opt for movement. Choose action, because every step you take today is a triumph over yesterday's inertia. Committing to daily action is not a punishment, but a liberation. The harsh truth is that if you don't push yourself, you will self-sabotage. If you don't choose to move with intention, your mind will drag you towards passivity, distraction, and everything that, while comfortable, lacks substance. He who waits for motivation, the perfect juncture, or the opportune mood, will never build anything lasting. For he lives at the mercy of his emotions, and while his intellect entertains him with ingenious excuses, his existence fades day by day, aimlessly, without achievements, without solid self-esteem. I have interacted with countless individuals and noticed a constant pattern. Those who truly alter their destiny are not the most talented, nor those with the most resources, nor those who started earliest. They are the ones who demand of themselves daily, who get up and fulfill their promises, even without enthusiasm, exhausted, or without external recognition. They have understood that genuine commitment resides not in the state of mind, but in resolution. And this determination must be renewed every morning, as if your life depended on it. In fact, it does. The power of forcing yourself into action lies in the transformation of your self-image. Every time you act, despite not wanting to, you are training your mind to respond to your will, not to your impulses. You are cultivating self-direction, the most crucial faculty. Once developed, this capacity becomes an internal force that propels you, with or without motivation, with or without support, with or without immediate results. You no longer need the environment to be favorable to you, because you favor yourself, and that strength is unmistakable. It is perceived and radiates in every one of your actions, but this is not by chance. You must force yourself. Yes, force yourself, because old patterns do not dissolve with a faint intention. They are broken with firm decisions, with an unbreakable routine, with a structure that you yourself conceive and honor, even when your whole being longs to surrender. It is there that the true metamorphosis begins, not in what is easy, but in the resolute choice of what is challenging. Not in inspiration, but in action despite fatigue. That action possesses a singular value, an echo that reconfigures your intellect, and each repetition strengthens you, clarifies you, stabilizes you. Do not wait to feel the urge. Do not cling to the myth that you need perfect alignment to move forward. Move forward, and alignment will come. Walk and the path will unfold. Force yourself and motivation will grow, because the human mind responds to movement. And the more you move, the more energy you generate. The more you act, the more security you build. The more you deliver, the more self-respect you earn. And when you respect yourself, external motivation is superfluous. You just need to remember who you are and who you have chosen to be. Your purpose is not to react to life, but to create it. And that creation begins with action. Daily, unavoidable, disciplined action. It doesn't matter if today is arduous. It doesn't matter if you're exhausted. The essential thing is that you choose to move, because every time you do, you are sculpting a destiny that will thank you tomorrow. Force yourself, because that obligation is in reality the supreme act of freedom. You are not reacting, you are choosing, and that power is the source of all transformation. Daily commitment to action is more than a practice of self-discipline. It is a silent affirmation of the person you have chosen to be. And that determination manifests not in your intentions, but in your habits. Daily action reveals your genuine commitment, not what you verbalize wanting, but what you are willing to build, even if it entails sacrifice, if it generates discomfort, or if no one recognizes it. Most people live trapped between their vision and their actions. They desire an exceptional life, but daily they choose what is simple, comfortable, routine, without realizing that this recurring choice subtly annihilates their ambition. A successful life is not the sum of inspiring moments, it is the inevitable consequence of consistent actions. And that consistency is not innate, it is forced at first. While you dismantle old patterns and fight the mental inertia that pulls you back to the familiar. Your body is accustomed to moving only when there is desire. But if you decide to act anyway, if you choose to follow through despite the lack of stimulus, that force that seemed artificial integrates into your being. And that is when everything changes, because action stops being perceived as an effort and becomes your essence. I have verified it in entrepreneurs, leaders, students, and athletes. The pattern is identical. Those who truly progress are the ones who make movement a standard, an unquestionable habit. They don't question themselves every day if they will do it. They have already decided beforehand. And that sustained decision over time becomes a system of personal empowerment, because every day you act, even with uncertainty or discomfort, you transmit to your mind, "Here, I am the authority." And that declaration, expressed in silence through your actions, forges an inner authority that no adversity can break. Many seek the perfect method, the ideal guide, the dreamed-of opportunity, ignoring the most vital thing: execution. You can have the best plan, the best tools, the best intention, and still fail if you don't execute. And you can have the worst of beginnings, the most limited resources, the most challenging environments, and still succeed if you act every day. The difference never lies in what you possess, but in what you do with what you possess. And if you decide to do something every day without excuses, without pauses, without dramatism, the world will begin to open up for you, because life responds to genuine commitment, not to declared intention. Do not underestimate the power of a single day. A single day of concrete action is worth more than weeks of unmaterialized thought, because that day marks a break, a new narrative, a new cycle. And if you reproduce it day after day, you will soon glimpse what few know: the cumulative effect of continuous action. You will observe how your ideas materialize, how your physique transforms, how your intellect organizes, how your energy rises, not by inspiration, but by repetition, by daily choice, by directed movement. Commit, because that is what someone who leads their life does. They don't act when it's convenient, they act because it's indispensable. They don't wait for the right emotion, they build it. They don't adapt to the rhythm of others, they set their own. And in that rhythm forged by constant action, something unstoppable emerges. Momentum. An energy that propels you, drags you forward, connects you with your purpose, and once ignited, is almost impossible to extinguish. So look at yourself today and ask yourself honestly, am I waiting to feel like it, or am I willing to act anyway? If your answer is the second, you have just crossed a threshold, because you are no longer waiting. You are choosing, deciding, moving forward. And that type of person is the one who changes their life and leaves a mark on the world. Day by day, step by step, action after action, without authorization, without doubt, without stopping. The obligation to act daily is not just a matter of willpower. It is a conscious strategy to shape your identity. Everything you reiterate becomes part of you. Every day you choose to act instead of procrastinating, you are instilling a new version of yourself, more resolute, clearer, more reliable, and most significantly, more powerful. It doesn't matter if your progress is minimal today. It doesn't matter if the result is modest. The fundamental thing is that you acted, that you took control, that you didn't give in to the voice of comfort whispering, "Better tomorrow." Because that voice, if you don't silence it with facts, becomes your master, and no one governed by delay will be able to build a life worth living. Your brain learns from what you do, not from what you think. You can tell yourself 1,000 times that you want to change, improve, or act differently, But if there is no action, your mind doesn't internalize it. Your subconscious doesn't transform with empty promises. It transforms with real movement, with small but persistent decisions, with that voluntary discomfort that arises from doing what you know you must do, even without any desire. That repeated action is what begins to forge the habit, and the habit begins to shape your character. And when your character changes, your destiny follows. The problem is that most people seek results without discomfort, change without effort, success without pressure. But the cost of authentic growth is always the same: daily discomfort. To reach the level you aspire to, you will have to abandon the version of yourself that hides behind excuses. You will have to break with habits that have provided fleeting pleasure but have cost you years of progress. You will have to stop asking for permission, negotiating with your weaknesses, justifying every delay. You will have to tell yourself, "Today I act, whether I like it or not, period." I have witnessed how entire lives transform, not because of a monumental event, but because of a simple daily routine. An hour dedicated to a goal, the determination not to procrastinate, an uncomfortable action performed every day. You don't need to do everything in one day, you just need to do something every day. And that is what few understand. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. Intensity excites you for a few days, consistency transforms you forever. And that consistency is only born when you no longer act out of desire, but out of identity. It's no longer, "I want to do it," it's, "This is what I do." Commit, not because you despise your current life, but because you honor the life you know you can build. Because you know that within you resides a vision that deserves to be materialized. Because you are no longer willing to keep justifying your mediocrity. Because you have already understood that no one will push you, no one will rescue you, no one will build your path for you. Everything depends on what you decide today, and that decision must be reflected in what you do, not in what you verbalize. Because action is the language of those who take their future seriously. Every day you act without wanting to, you are gaining power. You are recovering parts of yourself that you had surrendered to comfort. You are reminding your mind who is in charge, and if you do it long enough, you will become unstoppable. Not because everything becomes easy, but because you become stronger, firmer, more resolute. And that determination, once perfected by daily practice, nullifies any excuse, dissolves any fear, and overcomes any obstacle. This is how a conquering personality is forged. Not with volatile emotions, but with solid decisions. Not with promises, but with actions. And if you choose to move every day without pauses, without justifications, without authorizations, the life you conceive will not be a distant dream. It will be your natural consequence, because you created it step by step, with will, with structure, with real, daily, tireless action. The commitment to daily action also implies learning not to depend on immediate results to persevere. If you only act when you see progress, you are conditioned to the short term. And an extraordinary life is not built with quick rewards, but with unwavering faith in the process. Every day you deliver, even if nothing seems to change, you are winning. You are taking root, you are strengthening your character. But if you only measure your worth by visible results, you will give up just before the real transformation, because the fruits always appear later. First comes the silent sowing, the uncomfortable routine, the unacknowledged consistency. And it is in that silence that greatness is forged. The individual who achieves great feats does not obsess over speed, but dedicates themselves to direction. They understand that acting every day is not an emotional option. It is an unavoidable part of their identity. Their commitment is not to quick success, but to genuine metamorphosis. And that metamorphosis requires repetition, structure, and sustained will. Day after day, even if they are tired, even if it is not perceived, even if it generates discomfort, because they don't do it for applause, they do it out of self-respect. They understand that their destiny is forged on days when no one observes them, no one praises them, no one waits for them, and still they show up, act, deliver. If you are reading this, it is because a part of you knows that you are capable of more, that you are tired of waiting for the ideal moment, that you no longer wish to feel trapped in your own indecision. That internal impulse you feel now is no coincidence. It is your future screaming at you to wake up, that you can no longer afford another day of pretexts, of delay, of mental negotiations. It is time to become the person who does what they have to do, no matter how they feel. And if you are resolved to take that step, I want you to seal it here and now. Subscribe to this service, not for me, but for you, because every delivery you receive can be a reminder that you have a path, a vision, a life to build. And if you truly want to reaffirm your commitment, put it in writing in the comments. Write this phrase: I act even when I don't feel like it. Make your mind see it. Make your fingers write it. Make your body feel it. Because when your words harmonize with your intention, something begins to move within you. You are no longer saying you will do it. You are doing it. And that is what distinguishes the one who dreams from the one who builds. Commit to action, not out of external pressure, but out of internal dignity. Every time you act correctly without expecting a reward, you are training your mind to respect you. And that self-respect is the seed of confidence. Not empty confidence that depends on results, but solid confidence that emanates from knowing that, no matter what happens, you will respond, you will be present, you will act. That type of individual does not need motivation. They have purpose. They do not need unlimited energy. They have structure. They do not need to be impeccable. They have discipline, and that discipline is what frees them. Every day you choose to act, even when no one perceives it, you are building a life that will be visible, a life that will inspire respect, that will leave a mark, because it was not the result of chance or talent. It was a direct consequence of a brave and repeated decision. Today I also do it. Today I do not stop. Today I deliver even if it is difficult. That is the phrase that transforms destinies. Write it, repeat it, live it, because the world belongs to those who act while others only reflect. And you can be one of them. You just have to decide and deliver every day without pretexts, without pauses, without authorization. Committing to daily action is, in essence, a struggle against your most comfortable self. That part of you that longs to stay where it is, that seeks distractions, that convinces itself that tomorrow will be better. That faint voice that seems to protect you, but in reality keeps you stuck. And the only way to defeat it is not by debating with it, but by acting before it starts to speak. Because once the body moves, the mind silences. Once you start, inertia breaks. And in that first step lies more power than in 100 hours of planning. Most people squander their days between musings, uncertainties, and justifications. Today I don't have time. Today I'm too tired. Today isn't the most propitious day. And so, day after day, without moving. But he who achieves what he longs for is the one who acts without pretext. The one who sets in motion not because everything is perfect, but because he has already understood that his time is finite, that he cannot keep negotiating with a part of himself that only knows how to procrastinate. That person does not need to feel motivated. He possesses a routine that propels him, a structure that compels him to respond. And that structure is his freedom, because he no longer depends on emotion, but on habit. And habit protects him from self-sabotage. I have experienced it. For years, I postponed crucial decisions, waiting to feel ready. And every time I did, my energy faded, my vision weakened, my confidence eroded, because I knew I was failing myself, not because of what I didn't know how to do, but because of what I did know and still didn't do, until I understood. If I want to transform my life, I must act before I feel ready. I must train myself to move when others stop. And that training is not comfortable, it is not pleasant, but it is indispensable. And what it gave me was much more than results. It gave me control, power, direction. It's not about living exhausted. It's about living conscious, attentive, present, with the ability to recognize every time the mind wants to postpone that it's a trap disguised as logic. Because what's comfortable always seems reasonable until you realize that years have passed and you're still in the same place. And that, for someone who values their life, is unacceptable. Therefore, obliging yourself is not a lack of self-love. It is the highest form of respect, because you know you deserve more and you are not willing to keep settling for less. Create your own rules, define your action schedule, decide what gets done, when it gets done, and follow through without deliberation. Eliminate the need to check if you feel like it, because you are not here to follow emotions. You are here to lead them, to impose order on chaos, to use your mind as a tool, not as a judge. And that is only achieved if there is structure, if there is determination, if there is a daily clarity that tells you, this is what needs to be done, and I'm going to do it no matter what. And here lies the most powerful truth of all. Every day you deliver, you are rebuilding your confidence. You are healing the relationship with yourself. You are rewriting your story. Because he who acts every day, even if no one sees it, even if no one understands it, even if no one applauds it, that individual becomes invincible. He no longer needs motivation. He needs movement. He no longer waits to be rescued. He is already rescuing himself. He no longer dreams of a better future. He is building it step by step, with firm decisions, with real acts, with an unbreakable will. That is the life you deserve, but only if you claim it. Only if you decide that today, like all days to come, you are going to act, not out of pressure, not out of fear, but because you have already resolved it, because you are no longer willing to leave your destiny in the hands of doubt, because you already know that if you don't push yourself, no one will do it for you. And that radical awareness is the beginning of your definitive transformation. Committing to daily action also implies abandoning the all-or-nothing mentality, because that mentality is a cunning trick disguised as perfectionism. It's what tells you, if you can't do everything today, it's better not to do anything. And so it stops you, paralyzes you, convinces you that it's better to wait until everything is in harmony to start. But the reality is that if you only act when you can do it perfectly, you will act very few times. And that is precisely what annihilates your progress. It's not that you don't have time. It's not that you don't have resources. It's that you are waiting for conditions that will never arrive. And meanwhile, your life remains static. He who achieves great things does not act when everything is in order. He acts with what he has, from where he is, with the available energy, because he understands that the key is not to do it perfectly, but to make it real. What builds character is not intensity, it is continuity. It is that habit of moving, even if with tiny steps, of acting, even with errors, of progressing, even if it is not perceived. Because every conscious movement fuels your inner strength, and that strength grows when you decide to deliver without conditions. When you become someone who does not need the ideal scenario to respond, but only needs a reason. And if your reason is clear, your action will be inevitable. I have stated previously, success is not a matter of explosions. It is a matter of accumulation. A small action added to another and another creates momentum. And that momentum changes your energy, your perception, your identity. But if every time you can't do everything, you decide to do nothing, you are reinforcing the pattern that keeps you weak. You are teaching your mind that the slightest obstacle is enough to stop you. And that is inadmissible if you truly desire a different life. Because the strong individual does not give up because circumstances are not ideal. He adapts, he adjusts, but he acts anyway. And that is what distinguishes him from the rest. Forget about acting when you're inspired. Design a system where even the minimum counts. Create a habit where it's not about how much you do, but about not breaking the chain. Show your mind that you deliver, even with the basics. Because when that integrates into you, effort stops feeling like effort and feels like an extension of your character. And then, even on your worst days, you keep moving forward. Even if it's little, even if it's slow, but you move forward. And that, over time, takes you further than any intense but inconsistent burst of motivation. This is the mindset today. Even if you are at 40%, you are going to give that 40%. You are not going to hide it. You are not going to waste it. You are going to use it, because that act, however insignificant it may seem, sustains you, protects you, reminds you that you are no longer the one who procrastinates, the one who gives up, the one who waits. You are the one who acts, even if it is not perfect, even if it is not much, but you act. And that, with the days, becomes a solid inner force that no longer allows pauses, because you no longer act out of desire, you act out of identity. Discard all or nothing. shift the focus, and instead adopt the builder's mindset. Today, something progresses. That conviction repeated every day will make you stronger than any strategy, any motivation, any master plan. Because you will be the type of individual who does not betray themselves, who does not stop, who does not wait for authorization, who does not negotiate with their purpose. They just act, day by day, step by step, slowly if necessary, but firmly. And that firmness, even if it begins with small acts, will eventually build something the world cannot ignore. A powerful life, designed with intention and completely your own. Daily commitment to action not only forges your discipline, it also transforms your self-esteem from its foundations. Because authentic confidence does not arise from thinking positively about yourself or from repeating affirmations in front of the mirror. It is born from fulfilling what you promise yourself, from proving to yourself with facts that you can trust yourself, that you are capable of doing what is necessary even when there is no applause, when no one observes you, when everything within you wants to stop. Every day you fulfill what you said you would do, even if it is something minor. You are rebuilding a broken relationship with your word. And that relationship is worth more than any motivation technique because it is the core of your inner strength. The reason why many individuals doubt themselves is not because they lack talent, but because they have failed themselves so many times that they no longer believe in their own determinations. They tell themselves they are going to change, but they don't. They promise themselves they are going to start, but they procrastinate. And each of those small betrayals gradually erodes their self-respect until they reach a point where they don't even take themselves seriously. They talk about their goals, but deep down they know they won't achieve them. And meanwhile, they keep asking themselves, why don't they have confidence? The answer is simple. Confidence comes from coherent action, from promising little and always delivering. If you start to act every day, no matter how you feel, your mind will start to perceive you differently. No longer as the one who doubts, no longer as the one who procrastinates, but as the one who responds, the one who moves forward, the one who delivers. And that internal perception changes everything because you stop needing external validation, you stop comparing yourself, you stop seeking approval because you are no longer the one who needs to be pushed. You are the one who pushes yourself. And when that happens, your energy changes, your voice changes, your presence changes. You are no longer trying to appear strong. You are being strong from the root, from deep self-respect. I have witnessed how people who for years felt insignificant, invisible, confused, were radically transformed by committing to a single thing, performing a daily act of action. No matter how big, no matter how perfect, just that it was daily, just that the sequence was not broken. And after weeks, they began to walk differently, to talk differently, to choose differently. Not because the world had changed, but because they had changed. And that restored the power they previously surrendered to excuses, fear, or doubt. And here's something no one tells you. Acting every day doesn't make you rigid, it sets you free. Because you are no longer at the mercy of your emotions. You are no longer hijacked by your mood. You are no longer a slave to your insecurities. You are the master of your energy. And that mastery, that knowing that you can do the right thing, even on the worst day, gives you a peace that the world cannot take away. Because you no longer live in contradiction, you live in coherence. And that coherence is the root of all true strength. So ask yourself honestly, do I really want to trust myself? Or do I just want to feel good for a moment? If what you long for is to build genuine, solid, lasting confidence, then don't look for it in emotion, look for it in action. Don't wait for it as a reward. Build it as a habit, day by day, step by step, with acts as simple as they are powerful. Because every day you choose to act, even when you don't want to, you are telling your mind, I deliver, I respond, I am someone who can be trusted. And that conviction, once rooted, makes you unstoppable, makes you real, makes you great. Not by what you verbalize, but by what you execute every day without fail. Committing to daily action also has a silent but profound effect. It redefines your relationship with discomfort. While most people do everything possible to avoid it, procrastinating tasks, evading decisions, shunning discomfort, you choose to face it. You stand firm, look it straight in the eye, and choose to move forward because you understand that discomfort is not an adversary. It is the natural cost of growth. It is the sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone. It is the inevitable consequence of wanting more. And you not only accept it, you use it. You turn it into momentum. You integrate it as part of your daily training. The common person flees from discomfort. The disciplined person transforms it. While one complains, the other strengthens. While one seeks solace, the other cultivates resilience. And that resilience is forged every time you do what you don't feel like doing. Every time you get up, even if you slept poorly. Every time you train, even if your body aches. Every time you work, even if motivation is scarce. In those moments, you are developing something more valuable than results. You are developing mental toughness. And that toughness is what will allow you to stay on course when everyone else gives up. I have been in situations where everything pushed me to stop. Fatigue, frustration, fear, pressure. And I learned that in those moments, it's not about being the most prepared or the physically strongest. It's about being the most determined. The one who has already decided that no matter the cost, they will continue. The one who has already internalized that discomfort is not an obstacle. It is a message. And the message is simple. You are pushing boundaries. You are growing. You are doing what others don't. And that's why you will achieve what others don't. Your capacity for resistance to emotional and physical discomfort is trained, just like a muscle. With each repetition, with each day you choose not to stop. And the more you confront it with determination, the smaller it becomes because you no longer magnify it. You no longer interpret it as a sign of weakness. You understand it as part of the process. And then your tolerance threshold rises, your mind clears, your character hardens. You no longer need life to be easy, you become stronger than the adversities. The discomfort you experience today is not punishment, it is construction. And the discomfort you now want to avoid will be exactly what one day you will look back on with pride and say, that's where I forged myself. Because a robust, firm, and authentic identity is not born in comfort. It is born in the disciplined repetition of small actions that make you uncomfortable every day. And if you choose that discomfort today, you will be cultivating a life that tomorrow will set you free. Free from fear, free from laziness, free from guilt, because you will have built a version of yourself that acts not when it's easy, but when it's indispensable. Commit to continuing even when it hurts, because that's where who you are is revealed. That's where those who want something are separated from those who are willing to pay the price for it. No one becomes their best self by avoiding effort. They become so by walking with it, entering discomfort with a firm chest, knowing that on the other side of that pain there is strength, clarity, greatness. Make every day a training session. Not just physical, but mental, emotional, spiritual. Train yourself to resist the pain that shapes you, not the one that destroys you. Because if you don't choose the discomfort that strengthens you, the world will throw you into the one that breaks you. And you are not here to be fragile. You are here to be firm, to move forward when others retreat, to stand strong when everything seems to waver. Because you are no longer defined by the pain you feel, but by the action you choose, day after day. Even if it hurts, even if it weighs you down, even if no one understands it. Because that is the action that transforms, that builds, that frees, and that leaves an indelible mark. Committing to daily action also means abandoning the expectation of always being motivated. Because motivation is an emotion, and like all emotions, it is unstable. It comes and goes, rises and falls, and if you base your life on that, your path will be just as unstable. One day you will advance with vigor, and the next you will stop without knowing why. And that back and forth over time destroys your vision. Because nothing grand can be built from what is volatile. What you need is not constant motivation. What you need is a system that forces you to move even when you feel nothing. He who advances every day is not the most enthusiastic. He is the most committed. The one who has already decided that his word prevails over his emotion, that his routine prevails over his impulse, that his direction is more important than his state of mind. Because he understood it, he is not here to act when it is convenient, he is here to deliver. And that mindset, once established, becomes an unstoppable engine, because it no longer depends on the internal climate. He no longer asks himself, do I feel energetic enough to do it today? He asks himself, is this part of my vision? If the answer is yes, then it is done. Without pretext, without dramatism, without pauses. I learned it firsthand. There were days when I didn't want to continue. Days when tiredness, doubt, or discouragement spoke loudly to me. But I learned that those internal voices don't deserve to have power if they are not aligned with my vision. That not every emotion needs to be obeyed. That not every thought deserves to be followed. And that the moment you act, despite all that, is the moment you become your own master. You are no longer just someone who reacts. You are someone who decides. And that ability to decide, to execute without depending on the internal or external environment, is what distinguishes the great from those who remain dreaming. Many wonder, why don't they achieve what they want? And the answer is usually brutally simple. Because they don't move when they don't feel like it. Because they only act on good days. And that's why their results are also fleeting. Because consistency is only born from a resolution. I move no matter what. That phrase repeated every day with every action becomes a shield, a force that sustains, an internal structure that does not break with emotion, that does not shatter with fatigue, that does not crumble with doubt. Ask yourself this question every morning. Am I waiting to feel good to move forward? Or am I going to move forward until I feel good? Because often, movement is what creates emotion, not the other way around. Clarity comes after acting. Energy arrives after starting. Enthusiasm returns after delivering. But if you keep waiting for everything to align first, weeks, months, years will pass, and you will remain at the same point. You don't need more inspiration. You need more action. And that action will only arise if you decide to push yourself with self-love, with vision, with unwavering determination. Don't be confused. Obliging yourself doesn't mean hating yourself. It means honoring yourself. It means reminding yourself that you are not made to live trapped in excuses, that within you lies immense dormant potential, and that it only awakens with movement, with repetition, with presence, not with promises, not with fleeting emotion, with facts. And those facts, however small they may seem, are worth more than any speech, because they are what build your story step by step, day by day, in silence, with strength. The day you understand that you don't need to feel good to do what you must do, that day, emotional slavery ends, and something new is born. Responsibility, power, control. You are no longer a victim of your thoughts. You are the architect of your direction. And from there is nothing you cannot build, because what you do every day, even on your worst days, will define who you are. And that individual who acts without depending on the internal climate, that individual no longer stops. That individual becomes a force. That individual becomes you. If you so decide, and if you so deliver. Committing to daily action is in fact an act of self-love in its purest form. It is not an imposition. It is not pressure. It is the deepest recognition that your life has significance, that your aspirations cannot remain ideas floating in your mind, that every day that passes without action is a day that will not return. And you, who know what lies within you, cannot allow yourself to keep observing your potential turn to ash just because you got used to waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment does not exist, but you do. And you are here now with everything necessary to begin, to advance, to finally become that person who acts without permission, without pause, and without fear. Because what truly defines you is not what you think you can do. It is what you do when no one compels you. It is the silent routine you maintain when everyone else gives up. It is the way you respond when everything within you wants to stop, and you choose to move forward. That choice, that simple yet powerful choice to move every day, is what separates the dreamer from the creator, the weak from the firm, the spectator from the protagonist. You decide who you are. You decide whether you become someone worthy of admiration or whether you continue acting as someone who waits to be rescued. I have seen with my own eyes how entire lives change by a single sustained decision. It wasn't an inspiring phrase. It wasn't a stroke of luck. It was a person's commitment to their vision. It was their will to do what needs to be done, even when there was nothing but the echo of their purpose guiding them. And that echo, that inner certainty that you are meant for more, already resides within you. It just needs you to give it shape, to give it structure, to get up, move, and deliver. Today, not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, today. Because today, you have the opportunity to show that you are in charge, that you choose, that you decide to write the story others will remember. Greatness does not shout. Greatness does not need validation. Greatness is built in silence with repeated actions that the world does not perceive until one day it sees everything. And it wonders, how did you do it? And you will know. You did it by acting when you couldn't, when you didn't know, when you didn't have energy, when no one supported you, but still you acted, and that changed everything. So, engrave this in your soul. He who acts without depending on motivation, who constrains himself out of respect and vision, who fulfills what he promises, even if he doesn't receive applause, that individual becomes a force that no one can stop, because he does not need life to grant him permission. He has already granted it to himself. He does not need the environment to be favorable. He transforms it. He does not need external validation. He has already validated himself in the crucible of daily effort. That individual can be you, not in a week, not when things improve. Today, if you decide that every day will be a silent affirmation of your greatness, that every step will be a message to the world. I do not stop. I do not give up. I do not betray myself. That is the signature of one who has already understood that power does not reside in what one feels, but in what one does. That success is not chance, it is repetition. And that the life you envision is not a gift, it is a conquest, a daily, tangible, profound, and absolutely yours.